Welcome back to the Travel Agency Near podcast. I'm your host, Rachel Kay, and I'm a travel advisor helping travel advisors become the CEO of their business. If you would like more information on how I can help you, head over to elevatewithrachelk.com. Don't worry about the www in the beginning. Just elevatewithrachelk.com. But today's episode is day 33 of the Travel Agency Near podcast. And we're going to talk more about active listening. So, yesterday's episode, we talked about the benefits, why you should really consider active listening. But you may be like, I'm a perfect listener. I don't need any help with anything. Or you're like, what the heck is active listening? What's the difference between regular listening and active listening? Great question. That's what this episode is about. Like little things you can do when you're interacting with your clients, BDMs, any kind of like supplier trainings, if it's a webinar, especially if it's like a one-on-one Zoom, anything like that. These are little things that you should be doing, and it's practicing active listening. You're not going to be perfect at it, but just some tips. Okay. If you are in person, you want to note their body language. If they have their arms crossed, which I have right now, and I'm just leaning. I'm just being lazy. I guess I could sit up straight, be like, I am a business person. But then I feel I'm too far away from the microphone. But anyway, okay. Body language is very important when you're interacting with people in person. And you want to, I think, okay, Vanessa Van Edwards is a really good resource on understanding body language. She talks about it just like day-to-day interactions, but it's not like someone's going to have different body language talking to you as a client or a BDM versus like if they were talking to a potential partner on a date or something like this. The cues are all the same. I'm not saying that a BDM is going to be just as flirtatious with you as they would be with someone that they were on a date with that they were interested in, but you can tell when someone has interest and respect for you versus when they don't just by noting their body language. One thing that if you are in person, the lip compression. So it's kind of like pressing your lips together, like pretend you put on lipstick. Guys, you're just going to have to go get some lipstick and practice. But then you like blot your lips together. Mama. I'm making the sound if you're listening. But if you ask a client a question like, how was your trip? And they're like, oh, it was fine. But then they compress their lips. That means they're holding back something that they don't necessarily want to say to you. And that could be related to your service. It could be related to like whatever properties that were offered or cruises, whatever. And so that's something to kind of note. Little micro expressions like that. You also want to watch your own body language. You want to be like facing them, not turn to the side. If you're like, why would I be like, hi, everyone, welcome to my podcast if you're watching it on YouTube? I don't know. Pretending I'm interviewing someone. Okay. But do they have open body language? Do you have open body language? If they're kind of closed off or you are, then you're showing that you're not interested in what they have to say. Um, then there's also the tone. So anyone that had a good trip is going to be like, this was the best thing ever. Just like they're going to have a very excited tone of voice, like really happy. They may have a really relaxing tone. Um, and this is important for like phone calls too. Like they're going to laugh a lot more because they're just like, woo, they're still high from their vacation essentially. But someone who was like mid for their experience, whether it was the vacation itself or your services, they're going to be like kind of short and they'll be like, it was good. It was good. It was all right. It was fine. Yeah, I'll leave you a review. That means something somewhere along the line of them starting to work with you through their trip. Not necessarily a you thing, but there was something that happened that maybe they don't want to offend you. So they're just not going to bring it up. Now, when it comes to your own body language, if you're watching this on YouTube, you've seen my shoulders slowly raise up because I really need to work on my core strength, if I'm honest. But it's also a sign of like, a lack of confidence and kind of a fear. The closer your shoulders are to your ears, and I learned this from Vanessa Van Edwards, which is why I'm like, go follow her stuff. The closer your shoulders are to your ears, the less confident you appear. So it's very important. Like my voice is even like, it's harder for me to use my diaphragm if you're watching my shoulder, or if you're not watching, my shoulders are like a half inch from my ears right now. And I'm using the same amount of force to speak. And it's really, really hard for me. And I'm having a hard time breathing. And I also look like a weird little, I have no neck. I'm a turtle going in my shell. It doesn't really denote confidence, right? If you were picturing that. Or just go into a mirror sometime today and look and be like, oh my gosh. Like if you're just like, now my headphones are like resting on my shoulders. This is how, okay. That's not the best look. And I understand like people have like postural issues, especially all of us working at a desk. And we start to hunch over, and then we all have smartphones. We all like to do the doom scrolling. We start to hunch over, kind of weakens the core. But just be mindful when you are like speaking to people in public, especially about your business or just in general. Like, how far away can you get your shoulders from your ears? And a good tip is to think of your shoulder blades in the back, and they're kind of like upside down triangles. Just picture that, okay? And the points of the triangles, the tips at the very bottom, you want to pull them like down and towards your spine. So that can help you keep your shoulders back. And I know you might have a lot of knots in your back and all that fun stuff. Exercise is important, but if you can't exercise, just like focus on that for now. And it kind of might hurt a little bit. It's fine. It's fine. Just consider your posture is what I'm saying. And it can be fixed. Okay. When you are speaking to someone in person or via Zoom, it's important to nod. Like you don't want to nod too much. You don't want to nod too much or too quickly. Just like, I get it. Like a tempo of 1, 2, 3. Like every time I counted 1, 2, 3. That's the tempo of your chin down, down, down. Okay. You don't want to go too fast because that gives the impression of, I don't care what you have to say, hurry it up. And you don't want to just do 1 because then you're like covering your neck. It's a weird body language thing, but you're like covering your neck and you're like, I don't trust you. And you don't want to just like stay down. Like, I respect you, but I'm not fully trustworthy of you. So you want to like nod 3 times, okay, as you're listening. You want to be sure that you're making eye contact. Not psycho stare down. You're not like showing the whites of your eyes. Like that is you have entered a psychotic episode. And you don't want to just like not blink either. And you don't want to go too crazy with the eye contact, but you do want to make eye contact. Keep that in mind. I'm pretty bad with eye contact myself. And I have to think about it and be like, oh yeah, it's time to look in their eyes again. It's fine. Anyway, as you are listening, you want to be sure that you ask clarifying questions. And you want to avoid potential interruptions. So clarifying questions would be, let's say it's a consultation, and I'm just going to use my destination wedding consultations. I ask a lot of clarifying questions. My wedding consultations are an hour long. If they're quick, they're 45 minutes. So they're not like, how much is your budget? And how many guests do you have? And do you have kids or do you want adult only? Okay, well, I'll get you some proposals. I don't know why I talk like that in this example, but I asked very, very deep questions about their wedding day. I will go into like, do you imagine having getting ready photos? Like, is that a must for you? Like, I'll start with, okay, let's talk, do you want photography, videography? Well, yeah, this package says it has photography included. Yes, that's typically ceremony and newlywed photo shoot, maybe some family and group photos, but it's about an hour and a half. To clarify, do you want photos like getting ready and first look and candid photos of the cocktail hour into the reception? Do you want the reception covered all the way into the evening? Because that's going to increase the spend that you're going to need because that's not what's included in your package. So it's more of like those are clarifying questions. If someone's wanting to do a trip to Europe and they're like, as an example, this is really easy and obvious, but I want to go to Europe. Okay. What parts of Europe are you interested in? That's a clarifying question. Oh, I want to see Italy, London, Greece, and Portugal. And I also want to go to Ireland. I don't know why London is the only city I mentioned, but it's neither here nor there. It's, then you're going to say, okay, how much time do you have to do this trip? That's another clarifying question. You don't want to just assume they only have 10 days, and you don't want to just assume they only have like $10,000 for this trip either. You never really know. So you want to lead in with those types of clarifying questions. And then if they give information where you're like, this is not reality, you got to let them know. You want to avoid potential interruptions, such as your phone or email notifications, or if you work from home, like many of us do, other humans or pets. And you can't really control your environment, but you can you can do your best to mitigate these distractions from occurring. I like to have my phone on silent all the time. And I only check my email a certain number of times per day at certain times of the day. And I have it blocked off on my schedule so that no one can schedule an appointment when I'm checking emails. And conversely, I'm not worried about checking my emails when I'm in an appointment with someone else. Humans or pets, that can be a little more difficult. And it really just depends on what your household looks like. And you may have to establish some boundaries and like notify, hey, I've got this going on. Can you be quiet? Now, I know you're thinking, I have children, I have young children. That is not reality. Okay. So you might have to go in another room. Like, even if it's just like you don't have a home office, you might have to like go in your bedroom and just set the kids up with like the TV. I know it's not ideal parenting or something to keep them occupied quietly, and then you can sneak off and do the meeting. Hopefully, you do have a dedicated office space, but I get that many of us do not and are just like working from our dining rooms or living rooms. And that can make it a little more difficult. So, you might consider if you have a dog, for example, hopefully you've got a fenced in yard. You could set them outside during your meeting. And if there are any disruptions, you can just say, excuse me, I'm sorry, my dog is doing this. I have to deal with it with my clients all the time. My clients have had to deal with it with me as well. Like my dogs would just be like, I have to go to the bathroom immediately. And I'm the only person at home. So I'd be like, okay, that's great. Hold on a second. I'm going to take you with me while I let my dogs out. I'm sorry. Or sometimes my um, clients' dogs would just be really excited while they're on the phone with me. I don't know why, but they'd just be like, 1 second, and I'd have to mute, take care of it, come back. But before the meeting starts, you want to avoid these potential interruptions to the best of your abilities. You always want to make people feel heard and validated. That's completely obvious. And you want to repeat what they're saying to confirm that you understand what they're saying. You might not be right. Okay. So, 6 techniques you can do. Numero uno, pay attention. No distractions. No checking your email while you're on a phone call with them or Facebook or Instagram or you probably shouldn't be checking TikTok or Reddit or like no checking any of that while you're on the phone with these people. Don't have any judgment with what they're saying. You cannot presume that, and you'll hear this a lot as a new travel advisor, especially don't think with your wallet. So the previous example about Europe and the clarifying questions, you might hear, I want to hit 17 million countries, and you are probably in your head judging, like you don't have the time or the money for this. You could be right. You could be wrong. So don't hold with like, don't judge until you have all of the information of what can be feasible for your clients. You want to also reflect back what's being said and not just what you want to say. And you want to listen fully. And if you have to, this is why I'm a fan of the notebooks. If you have to, write down anything that you might want to say because they might clarify it themselves as they continue speaking. So then you won't have to bring it up. So just always take notes. I don't recommend doing it on typing, because they'll hear the clickety clackety maybe, and they might get distracted and they can't focus on properly communicating. If you're writing, it's silent. Hopefully, unless you just are, I don't know how you can be a super loud writer. Clarify. We've talked about that. Summarize. And you don't necessarily repeat it back 100% exactly how they said it because it's really hard to do anyway. But summarize everything. And then you can share your feedback on it, on what's feasible. So back to the European crazy trip, for example, then you would ask the clarifying questions and they could be like, yeah, I have $100,000 budget and I'm retired. So I have all the time in the world to do this. And then once you get all their information, the level of hotels, do they want private drivers? Do they want to rent a car? How do they want all of this to look? Then you would summarize all of that. Then you would share based on all the information you provided for me. I think that you could feasibly do this and it would be approximately this much time and this much money. And this is what my services are. And this is how I would help you. And this is my process, da 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 da. Then you move on. Anyway, those are some techniques for practicing active listening. And I want you to think about your last interaction with a client or a BDM or maybe just a friend of yours having coffee. Are you practicing those techniques? Body language wise, like check yourself in the mirror before you wreck yourself. Like if you're doing, okay, I'm going to talk about this silly modeling class that I did way back in the day, like 14 years old. And they would talk about the posture. So if you want a quick, like I need to fix my posture quickly, what we were taught is, okay, I'm trying to do this while not being super far away from the microphone. So you bring your shoulders as far forward as you can, and then you keep them forward and you bring them up. Look at my triple chin as high as you can. And keep them forward and bring them up as high to your ears as you can. And then you bring them all the way back, still high as you can, as far back as you can. And then you bring them down. And I just pop something in my shoulders and ribs. It's fine. And that's where your shoulders need to be. And you're going to start to relax. Like this is me relax. This is me when I'm boop. And then I relax and I'm like a little slumped over. It's not going to be perfect, but you can practice that and just try to hold it for like a minute a day, 30 seconds, whatever you can do. And that could really help with your posture when you're interacting with anyone over time. So that's another random tip. Okay, if you like this episode, please subscribe, share with a travel advisor riding the struggle bus that has the worst posture. Apparently, that was the biggest point of this episode. I don't know why I was so focused on that today. Yeah, like, subscribe, share, comments, all the things. Head over to Elevate with Rachel K. We have a ton of different little courses and programs that you can sign up for that don't break the bank. And I hope you all have a wonderful day. See you tomorrow.